Chapter 8. The next night, I stayed up filing the silver butter knife into something approximating a dagger. The work was slow, but the files were effective. I swiped one of those cheap knife sharpeners from the kitchen to put the final edge on both sides, and it was sharp enough to take the hair off of my arm. It was right then, as I tested the knife, that the bedroom door opened, then shut again, as if whatever was opening it was suddenly shunned by the bright light. I jumped up with my dagger and got ready to fight. I waited an agonizing few seconds, then decided that if I wanted to fight, now would be the time. I had the tools. I felt a surge of courage. I grabbed my flashlight and threw open the door. There was nothing there but the empty hallway. Holding the flashlight in my left and the silver dagger in my right hand, I went down the hallway, stopping to survey the living room. Nothing was moving. My fear grew as I saw the shadows from the furniture moving like ghosts on the walls and windows. I moved cautiously around the couch, but there was nothing there. I got to the front door and found that it was locked. The dagger felt slippery in my hand. I thought I heard something from my mother's room, the sound of her door shutting, and I was suddenly panicked about being caught out of my room. It didn't immediately cross my mind that Fisker could be attacking my mother. As far as I was concerned, his terror was exclusively the domain of children. I backed up slowly, then ran to my room. I shut the door quietly, then turned on the lights. This time, I didn't block up the bottom with a t-shirt. That beam of light might keep him away. I was stupid to hide it. When morning came, I opened up my window and slid my spear down to the ground. The silver dagger I hid in the pages of my math book within my backpack. I checked in at first period, then went to the office to sleep. I was antsy, but the safety of the fluorescent lights worked on me, and I managed to nod off for a good few hours. A secretary woke me for lunch, and I stood up with energy, realizing that it was Friday again. I would get to stay at my father's apartment. Of course, it might be time to do what I know needed to be done. There was still a lot to figure out, though. Anna caught me at lunch. "You're looking better," she said. "I feel better." "Mikey wanted you to call him." She handed me a piece of paper with Mikey's number on it. "Why?" "He wants to go," she said. "On what?" "The monster-killing mission." I shook my head. "I have to do this alone." "Just call him." "All right, I will," I said. Anna sat down beside me at the table and opened her lunch. It was the first time she had done that. We ate mostly in silence. "It might be the last time we talk," I said after a while. "I know," she said. "If I survive, I might be shipped off for good. I'm probably not getting away. If I die, well, I'll be dead." "I know," she said. "You should talk to Father James again." "I don't think I'll be able to." She was quiet for a while. "I like you," I said. It felt really awkward. It's probably something unavoidable about youth. It's terrifying to say how you really feel, so you just awkwardly half-ass the expression of your true feelings. "I guess I like you too." "Even though I'm crazy?" "You're brave. I can like a brave man." I chuckled. "A man? I'm a fool." "That too," she said, smiling at me. We talked about nothing for a fleeting few minutes, then the bell rang for class. My father's apartment was quiet, neutral, and unimposing as I stepped into it. As he and I spent the evening watching hockey, I realized that it was no longer a sanctuary as much as a home base. It was a place of temporary safety, but could not ever be a true sanctuary. It was, as I said, neutral. Eventually, the battle would come there, I was sure. I called up Mikey later on. "It's Billy. Anna told me to call you." "Yeah, she told me you were going to kill him," Mikey said. "I am." "How?" "I have ways." "Dad listening?" "Yeah," I said. "You?" "No. John wants in." "He needs to be there?" "Yeah," Mikey said. "He could drive us." "You want in too?" "I need to back him up. I'm scared, though. You heard from Jeff?" "He's in a foster home," I said. "I guess he'll be safe." "All right, just me and my bro. How and when?" "What choices?" I said, hoping he got the hint. My dad was watching me lightly, his focus mostly on the hockey game. Saturday? Mikey said. Yes. Night? Yup. How about we get you at midnight? Next hour sounds good. Yeah, my dad lives downtown. It's a cool place. Great view. We're on the corner of 8th and Grand. It's kind of a long way from my mom, but I kind of like that. I looked over at my dad and he didn't seem concerned. Yeah, no food but Dunkin' Donuts, but that's all right by me. All right, we'll pick you up at 1 a.m. at the Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, that's right. Homework is the questions from the end of chapter 12. See you later. Hope you feel better. Sucks throwing up. I hung up. Who was that? My dad asked. A friend from school. His cousin asked me to call him and give him the homework. He had the stomach flu or something. He knows your cousin Jeff? Yeah, or his brother knows him. I worry about that kid. Me too, but he'll be all right, Dad. Midnight Saturday came. I had slept most of the afternoon, and I felt ready. I tucked my dagger into a scabbard I had made out of duct tape, then tied it to my belt. I put on a light but long coat and steadied myself before stepping out of my room. It was silent in the main room. I walked to the little kitchen and looked at the clean, simple living room. The blinds were half open, letting in the infinite lights of the city. I took a deep breath and let myself gaze at it one last time. It was calm, cozy, but not totally safe yet. I could feel my heart rate slow in the quiet dark. Then I stepped to the door and silently slipped out into the hall. About 15 minutes later, I was at the 24-hour Dunkin' Donuts. I was early, so I ordered half a dozen donuts, including a cinnamon roll for myself, and even bought a cup of coffee. It tasted like ash, but I drank it anyway. It was my first cup of coffee, and I thought somehow I shouldn't go to the grave without at least tasting what the city, and my dad in particular, seemed to run on. Nobody at the shop seemed to care that a kid was there in the dead of night eating donuts. A few minutes passed, and I saw John's beat-up Chevy pull into the parking lot. I gathered up my things and stepped out. I paused as I saw that an extra person was in the car. As I bent down on the rear passenger side, I saw a pair of glasses and brown eyes. I opened the door and got in. "What are you doing here, Anna?" I said. "I'm coming too." "Danny doesn't know you," I said. "She threatened to tell," Mikey said. "We had to let her come." "I had to see it through too," she said. My eyes widened as she drew a long silver knife from her coat, much like mine, but made from some larger piece of silverware. "Did you all bring weapons?" "Yeah," Mikey said. "I got my knife. John brought his gun." "If silver don't work, lead sure as shit won't, but it's better than nothing," John said. I sighed and said, "All right, let's head by my mom's on the way, okay? I left a spear in the bushes." "A spear? Do we actually need that?" John said. He pulled out slowly and started down the road toward the freeway. "It's oak, which is good against ghouls," I said. "And spears are long. I don't want to knife this thing to death while he tears my throat out." "Good enough," John said. "It's not too far out of the way." "Oh yeah, I got donuts for us," I said. "Including you, Anna. I originally bought 2 for each of us, but—" I shrugged. "Thanks," John said. "You got any chocolate? I want to eat a chocolate donut." "Yeah." We ate all the donuts on the way. I ate a pink frosted cake, and I don't think I'll taste one that good again. The last one was a cinnamon roll that I split with Anna. We watched the streetlights pass by, orange and ominous, while we made our plans to kill the monster. I reached over on impulse and grabbed Anna's hand. Silently, she squeezed it back. It was a tender moment, but was unfortunately muted by the dread that was to come. John stopped by my mom's house, parking with his lights off behind a Ford Mustang, the same one that had shocked me to my senses another night. I got out and slowly opened the gate. From the bushes outside my room, I retrieved the spear. It didn't fit in the car, so we used a hole going from the trunk to the cab, presumably for skis, to fit the whole thing inside. From there, we headed for the funeral home. There was virtually no traffic in the suburbs. When another car would pull up, or turn in front of us, or appear from a side street, we would all tense up. We reached the funeral home around 2 a.m. The moon was up, and we could see the entire cemetery beyond the building in clear white light. I was somewhat surprised that there were no police. Despite the evidence, they couldn't really believe in what was happening under the roof of that house of the dead, so they weren't really watching. John parked on the side of the building. We got out extra quietly, even going so far as to slowly push the car doors closed so they wouldn't make a sound. We retrieved our weapons. John had brought a pistol of some sort. It was a .22 of a nameless make, about as long as my hand, that he had managed to get for about $100. He racked the small slide and held the gun in front of him as we moved toward the door. I retrieved the new key from the new hiding spot and opened the door. I used my mag light to find the security panel and punched in the code my mom had used earlier in the week. It worked, and the system turned off, the display reading a clear "safe" in amber letters. We moved out of the foyer and toward the office and the stairs to the morgue. We turned on no lights on our way. "I think we should stay together," Mikey said. "Stick to the plan," John said. "We'll be fine." "I won't." Mikey's voice was quavering, but he followed through. When we got to the office space, we split up. John slunk off to the alcove that hid the elevator. Mikey moved past him to one of the hall entrances. Anna went to the other hall entrance, holding her silver knife in front of her. There would be no exit for the thing at the bottom of the stairs. I quickly went to my mom's desk and retrieved the key to the morgue. Even with all the weirdness, she still couldn't believe. She still kept the key casually in a desk drawer. I stepped to the stairwell and leaned my spear against the wall. There wouldn't be room to use it, but I wanted it at the ready when I came back up the stairs, hopefully following the demon, or being chased by him. I proceeded down the stairs slowly and as silently as I could. I held my dagger in my right hand, my flashlight, which was off, in the other. The only light was the soft glow of the elevator button at the bottom of the stairs. I reached the landing and stepped toward the morgue door. I was surprised to find it unlocked. Very slowly, as smoothly and as quietly as I could, I pushed the door open. I reached in and hit the switch for the lights. They didn't turn on. Panic flooded me. I fumbled my flashlight but was able to click it on and swing the beam through the cold room. One of the lockers was open. A body was open on a rolling table, the skin peeled back. The room, however, was empty. "He's behind us!" I screamed, running up the stairs with my flashlight. "The lights don't work!" I heard John yell back. I heard Anna scream. I reached the top and dropped my dagger. I picked up my spear and readied myself. "I saw him," Anna said from her corner. "He's in the hall! Help!" I ran for her voice, knocking over a chair in the process. I reached her side and shined my light down the hallway. It was empty. I crept forward, holding my mag light on the side of my spear to light up the hall. I realized John and Mikey had joined Anna beside me. We worked our way toward one of the viewing rooms at the end of the hallway. The double doors were shut. I stepped forward and pushed on them with the tip of my spear. They were unlocked and swung inward. We kicked them open and stepped in. Once again, the lights didn't work. I surveyed the room and saw nothing but chairs and old decorations from a recent funeral. "He must be in the other room," I said. I turned and stepped out, checking the hallway again. "Damn it! He could have gotten past us somehow. Somebody stay near this door." John complied. He stood a few feet away from the room and pointed his pistol at the door. A pale patch of moonlight from a small nearby window illuminated the place where the doors met. I went to the next big room. There were only two on this side of the building. I kicked in the door and once again found an empty room. Nothing but chairs and tables. I ducked down to shine my light under the tables. That's when I heard the gunshot. Even though it was a .22, it was deafening. I stumbled as I tried to turn around with the spear. John was screaming. Anna was screaming too. I kicked the doors open to see John splayed on the floor, a singular figure standing over him, white and naked, with dark liquid streaming down its misshapen chest. John was hurt and was rolling on the ground. I saw him point his pistol up, but nothing happened. The cheap gun had failed on the second shot. He tried to rack the slide, but couldn't seem to get it to work before the monster bent over and struck him with his long, too large hands. Anna screamed again, and the white creature turned to look at her. His eyes were horribly dark, but glowed in the center like those of a cat. He was naked, and in the ambient light cast by my flashlight, which I had dropped on the ground, we could see every dark spot on his withered body. He had a huge chin and jaw, which dropped open in a smile as dark as his eyes. Mikey screamed wordlessly and charged. Danny Fisker, if that was who it was, hit him in the face and tried to grapple him to the ground while Mikey slashed with his knife. Anna threw her knife. It hit the creature and he cried out. The blade had struck him squarely, and there was a dark mark on his shoulder. He lumbered toward Anna, too tall and horridly proportioned. She screamed and fell to the ground. Now it was my turn. With a surge of conviction, I stepped forward and stabbed at him. He slithered around the first strike like a snake, but I drew back and struck again, this time hitting his ribs hard enough that I felt through the solid oak the snap of a bone. The spear was torn out of my hands as he went careening down the hallway toward the morgue. The wooden weapon fell from him a few yards into his run. I ran for John and pulled him to his feet awkwardly. He was bleeding from his mouth and nose, and probably more places I would have noticed better in the light. He fell back down immediately, but I saw that Anna was right beside me with Mikey right behind her. He was bleeding too. I stepped over and picked up my flashlight. The hallway was once again empty. I picked up my spear on the way down toward the lobby. "We almost had him," Mikey said. "He's real," I said aloud. "God help us," Anna said. We reached the lobby to find it deserted. I scanned everywhere with my flashlight, but there was no monster. I went between the desks and saw no Danny Fisker. "He's got to be back in the morgue," I said. Nobody seemed willing to argue with me, so I went back down the stairs, this time with my spear firmly in front of me. I reached the door and found it locked. Locked? How was this possible? I fumbled in my pocket for the key. When I found it and turned the lock, I saw that Anna and Mikey had moved down right beside me. I opened the door and quickly scanned the morgue. There was no creature. I went more slowly with the light a second time. Still, no monster to be found. "Where the hell is he?" Mikey said. "He's got to be behind us again," I said. "John," Anna said. We raced back up the stairs and through the office. We found John stumbling down the hallway with his pistol. "Let's get the hell out of here," he said through blood in his mouth, "before that bastard comes back." Just as he said it, we heard a crash from somewhere. "Agreed," I said. We all ran down the hall toward the front door. We didn't bother to reset the alarm. I turned and locked the door behind us, throwing the key away into the grass. "I got him," John said as he tried to find his car keys in his pocket. "Gun is a piece of shit, but I fucking got him." "So did Billy," Mikey said. "Practically impaled the thing. There was blood everywhere." "And he ain't dead," John said. "God help us." I threw my spear down on the ground as we fled. We piled in John's car and raced away from the scene. He took a break closer to the city when we pulled into the parking lot of a Taco Bell. They had a few outdoor bathrooms where we could clean up a bit, but for a few minutes none of us were willing to step out of the car. "I wonder where he went," I said after a while. "To hell, I hope," John said. "I hope he crawls off somewhere to die." "If he did die, would anyone find the body?" Mikey said. "Yeah," I said. "He was flesh and blood. If we killed him, my mom will find his corpse on Monday, or the cops will." "So we got to wait till then to find out, huh?" John said. "I don't think we killed him," I said. "He was flat out running with the spear in him." "Sometimes people take a long time to die from injuries," Anna said. "It's not like in the movies." "I'm sorry I got you all into this," I said. "Maybe we should have just burned the place down." "Maybe, yeah," John said. "If he keeps on. If he isn't gone, I'll burn it down myself. I can't live thinking those eyes are watching me." "Yeah," I said. "Better in jail than dead." "Right," John said. "Fuck, man, I can't believe I shot a guy." I snuck back into my dad's apartment without much trouble. The moon was setting in the windows when I stepped in, and my father was still sleeping soundly in his bedroom. I took off my shoes and coat, bundling them all up to hide any blood, then shoved them into my room. I went back and sat down on the couch, watching the moon above the city lights. I prayed. It was silly, but genuine, and I thought God might listen. I watched the moon set, repeating my plea. "Let it die." I couldn't sleep, so I got up and took my pills. I stretched out in my bed and slept dreamlessly for the first time in as long as I could remember.